Day 6, Stage 5 of the Santos Tour Down Under for the men in its 26th edition. The penultimate stage had been cut short. No triple ascent of Old Willunga Hill. It was too hot, with temperatures reaching 40 degrees. Jay Vine still in the race lead that he'd taken into Uradla a number of stages ago now, but without his teammate, Jonathan Narvaez, who'd crashed out on the penultimate stage. Tobias Lund Andresen, still the most consistent sprinter in this race. The penultimate stage, without those 3 ascents of Willunga Hill, had come down to a sprint won by Ethan Vernon. Surely the final stage wouldn't do that. 8 laps of a 22-kilometre circuit just south of the Mount Lofty Botanic Gardens, up and down all day. On paper, the hilliest stage of the whole race, even more climbing than there would have been if we'd taken on the triple ascent of Willunga Hill. There it is, a proper sawtooth profile across those 8 laps. Attrition, the name of the day. But would it prevent a sprint happening? Stuart O'Grady was convinced it would. The attacking was the best we've seen at the start of any of the stages this week. Pascal Encorn, the first of those to go. And then Rob Stannard, the Australian for Bahrain Victorious, went 2 or 3 times before it started to stick. Lidl-Trek were keen to get riders in the breakaway on the final day, Sam Oman giving it a go, but it didn't happen, and Rob Stannard persisted out front. For a while it was looking like he might be the only one, but there were plenty of other teams and riders keen to have a go with him. Eventually we'd have Luke Plapp coming up to join them for the second day in a row, forming the breakaway, but multiple attacks were happening behind as the laps went by. Pepijn Renderink suggested at the first King of the Mountains that he might be up for challenging Martin Urienstad in the King of the Mountains competition. He got maximum points at the finish line the first time of 4 times through. If he kept scoring beyond that, he would win the King of the Mountains, but it was a big, big ask. Up front, Robert Stannard again attacking from the peloton to join the breakaway. The pacing behind was being done by none other than Juan Sebastian Milano, the sprinter for UAE Team Emirates. The whole team having to rally behind Jay Vine because they'd lost numbers already. Luke Plapp, rear wheel puncture, needing neutral service from the breakaway. No panic though, making his way back in by any which way he could. Calmly, steadily, he got there. One super talented youngster making his debut in the World Tour here attacked behind. Pavel Novak, the Czech rider. But then this happened. 2 Kangaroos running straight into the middle of the peloton, and wouldn't you know it, for the second day in a row, it was one team on the receiving end of it. Mikel Biel out of the race, teammate of course of Jay Vine, and Jay Vine down, having hit one of the Kangaroos. He would steadily pace his way back in, and it has to be said the peloton did ease up for Jay Vine. That gave advantage to the breakaway, but as you can see from these pictures, it was coming back. With 1 lap to go, the sprinters finally realising they might have a chance. However, climbers amongst them, such as Santiago Buitrago here, were not going to let the sprinters have it their own way. Buitrago remarkably caught up with Rob Stannard. Stannard did everything he could to try and keep Buitrago up the road. It was quite a ride by the Australian from Bahrain Victorious on this day. So we had a tiny group clear and a tiny sliver of an advantage. Javier Romo, Jefferson Cepeda, Gal Gliva doing everything they could to try and stay clear of the chasing pack, which contained Jay Vine in the Oka Leaders jersey, of course, but look at the gap. And it was almost like we were back on the stage to Uradla again. Adam Yates working hard to keep Jay Vine up and out of trouble. Don't forget, Vine had already been on the road, having hit the Kangaroo. And it was Visma Lisa Bike doing the final closeout of the attacking riders. The great ride by Santiago Buitrago didn't want to be caught, and this in the end was the bunch sprint. Remarkably, a bunch sprint on a day like this, coming into the finish in Stirling. The 8 laps had come together and it came down to this. Michal Kwiatkowski hoping he was leading out Sam Watson, the prologue winner, but Watson was boxed in a little bit further back. It was Brady Gilmore who tried to do what Ethan Vernon, his own teammate, had done one day before, going early with a hard jump. But Matthew Brennan rushed the gap, jumped the gap, and took the win. Finn Fisher-Black behind, running him close, reminding everyone just how quick he is. Matthew Brennan came to this race with so many people expecting him to take a win. He hadn't until the final day, hence the look of relief on his face. It had been a really hot week of racing, a tough final day, but remarkably it still came down to a big sprint. Matthew Brennan the best, ahead of Finn Fisher-Black, and the winner of the sprints classification, Tobias Lund Andersen. Look at the turn of speed from Brady Gilmore. He was right up there yesterday, having led out his own teammate Ethan Vernon, but today just going that little bit too early, and Matthew Brennan was ready to mop it all up behind. Watch Finn Fisher-Black for Red Bull Bora Hansgrohe just behind, hanging on to the back wheel of Matthew Brennan, and not allowing Tobias Lund Andersen to come past. We've seen some cracking sprinting this week, and the wins have been spread evenly between the fast men too. He was the stage winner. The general classification winner, Jay Vine, no doubt about it, just relieved to get to the finish. On the deck today with the Kangaroos, and yesterday seeing Johnny Narvaez out of the race whilst in second place. This would be the final top 10. Jay Vine from Mauro Schmidt, and a brilliant ride by Harry Sweeney this week. Jay Vine became a two-time winner, and at last won his stage of the Santos Tour Down Under, because in the first time he won the race overall, he did not win a stage. The King of the Mountains competition was dominated by Martin Urinstad, who was in the breakaway on 4 days, richly deserving the green and white dotty jersey. The Zip Track Sprints classification went to the most consistent sprinter, and he was the most consistent by far, Tobias Lund Andersen, dominating the sprints competition and getting his stage win too. He is starting the season with decathlon in very good form. The white jersey in the end went to Andrea Recagni of Soudal-QuickStep, having won the few bonus seconds at the end of yesterday's stage. Michael Leonard, who had been wearing it, had a bad final day and dropped quite a long way behind him. And there were the jerseys and the podium finishers, with Jay Vine joining a club of 3-time winners that include Richie Port, Andre Greipel and Stuart O'Grady. The men's UCI World Tour is underway. Catch it all right here at the home of cycling.